Look at all of that rain. Anyway, before I start penciling in this strip, I did want to mention a little bit of news. So, one of my I have several comic heroes, comic book artist heroes. Walt Kelly, for instance, Charles Schultz, Kirby, Ditko, kind of all of those. But one artistic hero that I have is Walt Disney. I think the man was fascinating. I think he was a genius in many ways. I love how his work combines music and image, and he was just all around a good storyteller who had really good instincts, which is one reason why I am not entirely happy with the direction that the Disney company has taken, probably for most of my lifetime. Now, this is not going to be a video about the Disney company, nor about the merger or acquisition of some of the Fox properties. Some of that we don't know the full extent of what will happen, but we have some pretty good guesses. I mention this because even though Walt Disney and Charles Schultz and Walt Kelly are heroes of mine, I also like to find heroes in the present day. And one of those heroes is the famous artist who worked for DC, Ethan Van Sciver, also known as Uncle Ethan or Ehe on the internet on his YouTube channel. His drawing skills are quite admirable, very enjoyable to see. And recently he's been running a campaign to bring back his character Cyberfrog, a character that he created in the 1990s, and now he's doing an independent comic book. He, as of maybe last night or maybe Saturday night, he has raised $500,000 for this project, and that is absolutely stunning. And this does give me hope for many things. But as I mentioned before, this is also a contemporary hero whom I can admire. Now, there are a lot of interesting things happening with comic publishing right now, especially since DC and Marvel are not really having as much success with publishing comic books as they should be, despite the prevalence of their films and some important titles that have been released, like, the 1000th issue of Superman and the Spider-Man issue and the Batman wedding and all of those things. But here we see independent publishing, and this really brings to mind other ways that comics have been distributed in the past, and perhaps this shows ways that they may be distributed in the future. For instance, and just to be very brief on such things, the newspaper comic strip seems to have given way to the web strip, and now some of these web comics do find conventional publishers, but some of them are published independently. We also have the rise of smaller companies who are filling in some of the niche that Marvel and DC used to have. For instance, Peter Simeti's Alterna Press, in many ways, is what Marvel used to be. Now, with Cyberfrog here, we see someone following the European model of comics, where a prestige book is published, maybe 2 or 3 or 4 titles are made a year, and that is the run. Now, obviously in Europe it's a little different. There are hardback albums, and then later on they may be paperbacks. I'm just showing that there are other ways that comic books have been distributed rather than through these large companies, and that the people doing this are heroes of mine. Another independent way of publishing comics we saw with Aardvark by, I believe, Dave Sim. He had a small company that just distributed his monthly black and white book for many years, almost 30 years. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles started that way. And of course, people who go independent, they are the ones who create the future. We should keep in mind that Walt Disney himself started that way. I mean, he was doing Oswald the Rabbit, and he did not own the rights. And because of a falling out with his partners, he went independent, and that is how Disney and Mickey Mouse started. They were the underdogs for years, and they had to be smart, creative, and really respond to the customers in a way. So, where independent people are going today, they are forging the path for tomorrow, and it is very interesting to see where things will go. Well, anyway, I've got to get back to this strip, and I'll talk to you later. And congratulations to Ethan Van Sciver and to all of these independent projects. Goodbye.